Chiamo con me per cortesia Matteo Ward insieme a Suzy Amis Cameron. E vi lascio il palco.
Grazie mille. Come va? Buonasera. Siamo seduti da un po', tutto bene? Allora, parto in italiano e poi passo in inglese per rispetto delle persone che saliranno sul palco qui con me a brevissimo. Abbiamo sentito prima, dov'è Giulio? Grande Giulio. Giulio prima ha detto una cosa fenomenale. La natura è la tecnologia più avanzata che abbiamo per mettere in discussione lo status quo e addirittura farci fare un passetto più in là per risolvere alcune delle problematiche che stiamo qui a scervellarci e capire come cambiare. E cosa ho dedotto da quello che Giulio ci ha raccontato, da tutti i discorsi che sono stati fatti prima. La dottoressa Moratti ha detto siamo gli artefici, anche attraverso l'arte, grazie, e la cultura, di nuove abitudini, di nuovi sistemi. L'insostenibilità, l'ingiustizia che vediamo oggi non è un sottoprodotto inevitabile di questi sistemi perfetti, della natura e di un progetto culturale artistico. È il sistema che purtroppo, o per fortuna, adesso capiamo perché, abbiamo costruito noi esseri umani. È una sovrastruttura artificiale che ci siamo inventati per tutta una serie di altri motivi. È la condizio sine qua non, apparentemente, per poter fare in alcuni settori, tipo il mio, lavoro nel campo della moda, del design, del tessile, profitti. Però quello che voglio raccontarvi oggi invece è una storia un po' diversa. È una storia che mette in discussione questo, ed è una storia, e adesso passo all'inglese, and this is the story of an intuition which became a global holding company. This is the story of problems which are evident. We saw photos of them earlier as well. It's the story of problems which are becoming solutions thanks to nature, ancient wisdom, science, research, and technology that listens to nature and works with nature. And this is the story that I'm very happy to share with you today, not by myself, but by the person that has been writing it for many, many years, Suzy Amis Cameron. But before welcoming her on stage, I'd like to show you a video of her that speaks about her sense of purpose and vision. Please play the video.
I've had a really charmed life, and I'm aware of it, and I don't take it for granted. I grew up in Oklahoma in an amazing, crazy family full of mavericks. And I left at 17 to go to Paris to be a model, and I was based there, and I traveled all over the world. And then I moved to New York and started acting. And then I made this little movie called Titanic and met this really groovy guy who was the director.
In 2012, I told Jim, I want to show you a movie, Forks Over Knives. 24 hours later, he said we shouldn't have any more animal products.
We went plant-based. We started this amazing school. Now there's a book and there's a movement.
1 meal a day. 1 meal a day.
OMD.
One person changing one
Plant-based meal a day.
That is graspable.
I want to make the world a better place for all of our kids to grow up in. We got this. We totally got this. I do want to change the world. I really do.
Please welcome on stage, aiutatemi a fare benvenuto, Suzy Amis Cameron. I feel like I'm really far from you if I sit.
I know.
Can I sit next to you?
We just
Or
pull it
just,
up.
we just can do this. They're gonna hate us from the regia. Ciao, Suzy.
Ciao.
And ciao again to everybody. We got this. We totally got this. An intuition which has become an international holding company, Inside Out. What's all about? What's the vision? What's the purpose?
Well, I never decided like I was going to be creating a global holding company. Like I said, I grew up in Oklahoma, left at 17, became a model. I worked here over and over and over again, right here in Milano, and then, which led to acting. I met my husband.
You started with Vogue Italia and Franca Sozzani.
Yes, Franca Sozzani gave me my first job, right here, with Lay magazine. In fact, some of those pictures that are up there, I think there were 2 covers of Lay. That were
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Anyway, it's been a journey of one thing that has led to the next thing that has led to the next thing, and really ultimately everything for Inside Out starts with a child. And when I was pregnant with my first child, I had a sister-in-law at the time who was telling me, that I needed to pay attention to what I was going to be putting on my baby and what I was going to be putting in my mouth to grow my baby. And then once, he was born, and she took me into a health food store, and that was really the beginning of understanding that there is another way. There's another way to eat. There's another way to dress. There's another way to clean your home. And, from that, then I ended up having more children. We have 5 total in our family.
Big one, big family.
And then there was a moment where I was like, well, we've got to educate these children. So, as you do, you start a school. So I started Muse School, which is now Muse Global School. And through that, experience, started learning about all of the issues around education. But it's not just education in terms of sitting in school. It's about education like we've learned tonight. Francesca, thank you for your book and how much water it takes for a glass of milk, for an apple. All of those things are part of education and part of why it's important that we might want to make a different choice. And from that we ended up creating the first plant-based school in North America for that reason. And out of that came OMD, which is about the idea that you can actually make a difference yourself by changing one plant-based meal a day for 1 year, save 737,000 liters of water. So that's just one person. So you can actually make a difference.
Which is so important, as we've heard before, those actions that we can make to bring change in our own lifestyle and have this domino effect all over the world. And all of this experience led to the creation of Inside Out, which is structured in how many verticals now?
Yeah, so we have 6 verticals, ultimately. And so we have education from the school. We have food. We have fashion, textiles, and home, which you are helming down in Rome in our new offices. We have wellness. I live in New Zealand now, so we're using a lot of manuka and kanuka for products for our skins. And media, because we've created a lot of media, documentaries. I met Matteo when he was working on Junk and basically stalked him and begged him to let me be his executive producer. But everything that we do is based in science, technology, and research. So literally everything that we do is based in science, and we're working with leading universities, MIT, Texas Tech, Ohio Tech, Georgia Tech, to create solutions for some of our world's biggest problems. And the one we're going to talk about tonight, it has to do with water sovereignty.
Shall we invite on stage someone who's very, very, very much better than, I think, myself for sure, to speak about some of these technologies?
Yes, it's our resident genius, Carl
Please
McInnes.
welcome on stage Carl McInnes, Executive Vice President of Inside Out Science, Research, and Technology. I realize I stole your mic. Hi, Carl.
Hey, Matteo.
Carl's from New Zealand, so with the accent, be careful. I'm joking.
I've been told to speak slowly because Kiwis speak very fast. So every company needs a geek, and I am it. And just to start, I think to describe what science, research, and technology is, there's a quote that I love from a great scientific author, Arthur C. Clarke. And he said that if a technology is sufficiently advanced, it looks like magic. And I think we all agree that the world looks like it needs a little bit of magic, and that's what we do in science, research, and technology. We look for those technologies that are so advanced that to the world they look like magic, and we focus on a few key problems. How do you feed sustainably a population of 10 billion by 2025? How do you strip out economically PFAS and microplastics from our water and from our soils? And how do you make it economic to get synthetic fibers and take those and remediate those so that you can get a circular economy around that. We have 17 streams of magic, I call it, and we're going to talk about 2 of those tonight.
That's great, and we've learned before, again, I think magic can be real, thanks to nature. So why don't we play a video that shows how this magic has been unfolding ever since, Suzy, you founded Inside Out. Please play the second video, thank you.
The world is experiencing explosive growth in pollution, waste, and toxicity. But what if our planet's biggest problems were also its greatest investment opportunities? At Inside Out, we know they are. We're a global holding company investing at tipping points where the disruption is not only inevitable, it's profitable. We're catalyzing a future where big business is built for the environment. Our work spans 6 verticals: science, research, and technology, global food production, wellness, education, fashion, textiles, and home, and media, all converging at the intersection of human and planetary health. And with over $70 million deployed and over 130 team members worldwide, we're already delivering. We're commercializing a breakthrough electrolysis platform that converts toxic wastewater into circular nitrogen, renewable biogas, and degrades plastic, all while disrupting the global fertilizer industry and improving community health. We're scaling MIT-developed sensor technology not only to train the next generation of scientists in STEM, but train the next generation of physical AI models for our future. We own fast-growing fashion brands, a world-class school, award-winning films, and health products powered by nature. We've leveraged decades of founder experience in operational and financial excellence to continually drive growth and generate alpha returns. At Inside Out, we believe outsized returns come from overlooked environmental white spaces, and we've built a business to capitalize on them. So join us as we scale the infrastructure of the future. It's gonna be great.
Join us as we scale the infrastructure of the future. That's what we're here all about. I think you may know I've spent more than a decade talking about the problem. We're here to talk about the solutions of what infrastructure we need to build. And Suzy, one of the first time I've met you and you were explaining the vision of Inside Out, Suzy looks at me and she's like, Inside Out is solutions on steroids. What did you mean? And how important it is to you as a human and now as an entrepreneur to drive solutions for some of the world's biggest challenges?
Well, I think it comes from experience of, having these, the babies of the verticals, the education and the red carpet green dress and OMD, and realizing that, yes, it started conversations, yes, it was making some impact, but it was waking me up in the middle of the night. And I thought, you know what, if I can do more, I will do more. Because someone has to make the world a better place for all of our children and the generations we will never meet. A better place for them to be able to grow up in. And I take my platform very seriously. It's a great responsibility to be able to do that. And I mean, in our backyard in New Zealand, I live in New Zealand now, so we're neighbors now. But the nitrogen runoff there is so massive that down on the South Island, they actually tell pregnant women not to drink the water because of blue baby syndrome. So these are things, you know, in our backyard. And I know that, you know, here with Carl was talking about the PFAS.
PFAS, yeah.
Right?
We have a big problem here in Italy as well with PFAS pollution around Vicenza, Verona, and Padova.
Yeah, so it's touching all of us. It's touching all of our lives. And, you know, it wasn't an accident, but I was the universe dropped Eric Steinvik and me in the same cafe in Paris through a mutual friend, and Inside Out was born. It's about what you put on your body and what you put in your body and how it affects your health and how it affects the health of the planet. But when I pinch myself, and I might start crying here, but when I think about the solutions that we have to literally our world's biggest problems, and water being one of them, I never in a million years would have thought that we would be able to make this kind of impact. And not only impact for the environment, and it was in the video, but it's massive business, huge business for the environment.
So a lot of opportunities to be unlocked by
Exactly.
being able to listen. And this is something that I think I've experienced myself, listening to Suzy's personal experience facing some of these biggest challenges around the world, in New Zealand in particular, and then instilling in the organization the drive and the vision and the motivation to take action for it, remembering us that our freedom doesn't mean that we can alienate ourselves from this reality. Our freedom is the act of responsibility. And Carl, you lead that vertical. You lead this vision and this magic. And one of the technologies we would like to present tonight, Casper, has become one of the flagship innovations of Inside Out. Can you tell us what is the problem we're solving with Casper and why is it relevant?
Yeah. So by 2050, there'll be 10 billion people to feed, and that means we have to produce 70% more food. I mean, that's an amazing number, 70% more food by 2050. Now, a large portion of that food is going to be grown using synthetic fertilizer. And that's a real challenge for the world, because there's a dirty secret about synthetic fertilizer. It's incredibly expensive, more expensive than it should be, because it's driven by fossil fuels. It creates a huge CO2 footprint. And then once, to your point, Suzy, once you actually put it on the land, only 20% of that fertilizer is taken up by the plants. 80% of it flows into our waterways. And blue baby syndrome, all of these things are a consequence of that. So Suzy wanted a step change solution, not an incremental solution. And now we've partnered with Casper. Casper is a center for advancing sustainable and distributed fertilizer production. They've created a totally revolutionary system, which is low energy, which is cold and modular, that can go in every wastewater treatment plant in the world, on every large farm, and it will take human and animal effluent, run it through its system, dramatically upgrade that, what is a pollution, into a fertilizer which can be put on land, so we suddenly circularize huge amounts of phosphorus and nitrogen. It also breaks down the microplastics and the PFAS that aggregate in our bodies and then pass through us. So it's going to dramatically change the amount of toxicity that goes into the world. So on that one, we're deploying the first plant in New Zealand, because there's such a challenge in New Zealand at the end of the first quarter. And we're incredibly excited about being able to take pollution and create profit and maybe change the way that billions eat into the future.
And when PFAS, and thank you, Carl, for that, and just PFAS, if nobody, maybe you have never heard this word, it stands for forever chemicals. It stands for a specific type of dangerous, invisible, odorless, toxic chemical that is everywhere. It's in the pans that we cook with. It's in the creams that we use. It's in the clothes that we wear because it makes our fabrics hydro-repellents. Because it's invisible, it's 10 times more dangerous. And the World Health Organization has declared a lot of these chemicals carcinogenic. There's more than 4,000 of them. So we're only at the edge of this research. And this technology is phenomenal because it's really, empowers us to redefine how PFAS are known. There will no longer be forever chemicals. They could be degrading into something that we could use for as value for other industries. Which brings me back to fashion.
Solutions on steroids.
Solutions on
Just
steroids,
saying.
just saying it. We're in Milan. We're at the edge of Fashion Week. The elephant in the room every Fashion Week is everybody will speak about making clothes more responsible, but the real question is, how many clothes do we actually need? 100 billion garments a year, 23 billion pairs of shoes a year. Nobody needs another product. So the first solution here is really to rethink our business models. Let me just say that. The second solution that the world really needs is to figure out what to do with all this clothes, all of these textiles, which are primarily made of synthetic fibers, which are not easy to degrade and not easy to recycle and toxic. Suzy.
So back when I started Red Carpet Green Dress, only because I didn't know what I didn't know. So it was in our third year, and we were working with will.i.am's company, which is called EcoCycle, and he was making these fabulous suits and tuxes, which we put on actors on the red carpet at the Oscars because we know it's the most watched carpet in the history of the world. And you could open up the lapel and it would tell you how many plastic bottles were used to make this tuxedo. And we thought, I'm gonna dislocate my shoulder, patting myself on the back. We thought we were doing all the right things. It's just like, eating grass-fed beef or organic dairy. We think we're doing all of the right things. Come to find out, that any kind of recycled polyester, recycled synthetic clothing, it's all part of the problem because it ends up going into the landfills, off-gassing, leaching into the land, and the people living around it are actually smelling in these horrific chemicals. Children are playing on them and getting lesions and horrific lung diseases and things like that. But it's just a matter of education. And it's a matter of understanding that natural fibers are really the way to go.
Thank you, Suzy. And just some context around that. Right now, with 70% of the fiber market being dominated by materials that are made of plastics, sometimes we talked about greenwashing and bluewashing, we may perceive as responsible, but in reality are intoxicating our skin or intoxicating the planet. It doesn't look promising. But again, hero Carl, you're here to save it.
Well, actually, this one's Mother Nature because she's been working on a technology for 3.7 billion years, and that technology is microbes. So there is a microbe that loves polyester, eats it, and excretes virgin monomers. And we're working with MIT to harness that technology. We've already done some experiments. We can get polyester, put it in some water, sprinkle some of this magic dust on it, and at room temperature, after 24 hours, 70% of that polyester is gone, turned into monomers that can be then recycled into the system, which we think is pretty exciting. The other thing that we think we can be able to do is there's a real issue with the fundamental economics of recycling fast fashion. We think because Mother Nature is doing most of the work here, that we're going to be able to do this at an economic level, which will then, accelerate dramatically the ease at which fast fashion can be recycled. We're also thinking about the problem of having to, when clothes are collected, separate them. So we've now found bacteria that can do nylon and elastin. So we're managing into the future, putting a synthetic garment into one of our vats. We dose it with bacteria, and 24 hours later, all the nylon, elastin, and polyester has been degraded into monomers which can be reused. I think that will be a cool disappearing trick, right? Yeah, that's going to be true magic.
True magic, and thank you, Carl. And this is the kind of holistic vision that even Dottoressa Moratti was speaking about before. It's not thinking in silos anymore, it's thinking holistically about our ability to create products, better brands that fashion new habitats, ecological, industrial, social, but at the same time, products and services that can fashion new habits, becoming pioneers of a new lifestyle of health and responsibility at the intersection of planetary and human health. These are just some of the 17 streams of innovation that are feeding my job as CEO of Inside Out Fashion, Textiles, and Home, and the job of other colleagues in the verticals of food, media, wellness, education, and of course, SRT, guided by Suzy, Eric, and an incredible team. And we're, again, very thankful for this opportunity to present our work, thankful to Fondazione Acqua, Ines, and Aurelia, and the entire team for inviting us. And if you have any questions after this, of course, we'll be available. Thank you, Suzy, thank you, Carl, and thank you very much.
Thank you.